All right, what's up, guys? Tonight's feature presentation, April Fool's Day, released in 1986. If you look at any movie website, it will bill this as a horror first. And if you look at the picture that I've uploaded as the picture for this video, it's the movie poster of the film. It definitely looks like a horror. It looks like a slasher. It was mispromoted as a slasher film, and that was probably on purpose. It could have been that the movie company was trying to milk what was left of the slasher genre. By 1986, it was starting to fade out. I will say this: it is not a. I would not even call this a horror. I would call this a mystery suspense. But you can see why they tried to kind of make it look like a horror slasher film, just because of the popularity of it. They were trying to get the most out of it. But I would call it more a suspense mystery. Okay, so picking up with there's a group of graduating seniors in college, just starting off for spring break, the weekend leading up to April Fool's Day. So this year kind of sets up perfectly to watch it a little before or on the day. But that in itself is a little bit of a factual error, because what college would have their spring break at the beginning of April when most colleges are out in early to mid-May? So, but whatever. The thing I like is one of the things that attracts me to this movie is the graduating seniors and seeing all these different characters. And if you were there, you kind of remember that time of your senior year, getting down to the end of things and seeing the way that everyone handled it differently. And you see that a lot from these characters. And it's amazing that this film has enough space to, in the 89 minutes, I think, to explore all of those different kind of wavelengths of the characters who are graduating, as well as give you, a mystery film, horror. This has got plenty of comedy, and all of the comedy in this movie works, and drama, definitely drama. All right, so we have Deborah Good. So they all go on a ferry to get to this one of their classmates' a house she's inheriting soon, kind of on this on this island. Okay, so you know it's going to be this secluded place. And so the cast here, we have Deborah Goodrich, who plays Nikki. She's kind of you see her early, and you see she's kind of got some layers to her. She's kind of wild. She's a little she talks some kind of kinky type stuff. She gets into her bathing suit early. But she also talks about like wanting to work with handicapped children. So she's got kind of different layers to her. Now she's real good looking too. Next you have Clayton Rohner, who's kind of her main boyfriend, but not really. She sleeps with him the first night. They're kind of together, but he's kind of loose. And this guy, Chaz, is the name of the character that Clayton Rohner plays. And Chaz is pretty cool. He's got kind of this like quasi like 80s kind of punk rock. Well, not punk rock, just kind of new wave look to him. You can tell he's enjoyed college. He's got kind of a different approach to like kind of an outside the box way of what he's going to do after college. You see him looking at this kind of porn magazine or porn book or something, and he's like gonna study the going to some kind of like porno analyzing or critiquing thing. But he definitely, you know, definitely doesn't like just do like the typical just interview and, you know, go into a cubicle type of thing. So he's kind of cool in that regard, and he's the consummate optimist. Even when people are getting killed off, he's like talking about seeing the bright side of things. You have Pat. Let's see. Who's next? Okay, Amy Steele. Let's go. So Amy Steele plays Kit, and Amy Steele, of course, is best known for playing Jenny in Friday the 13th Part 2. She was the last girl in that film, and she ends up being the last girl in this one. And she is, by most people's standards, most of the Friday the 13th fans' standards, including mine, the best last girl in the history of the franchise. And a lot of her character is, from that film, you see a lot of it in this one as well. She's independent, like Jenny is in Friday the 13th Part 2. She kind of takes the lead in some situations, like in her relationship with Rob. She kind of has a little bit of a domineering type of mentality. Not over, but she's a little. I think she's kind of reminds you of that girl in college that was sort of, kind of owned her boyfriend. But she's really good in this. I like Kit. And then her boyfriend is played by Ken Olant. That's Rob is his name. And Rob is like, this guy's got a lot of layers too. So this guy's like, he's good looking, kind of, but he's not really jock. He's just a good looking dude, and he is he's a guy that, like, he takes initiative a lot, like especially at the end. He has a lot of leadership skills. He calls for help. He's the most sensible. He's the guy who is upset because he didn't do well with his job interview, and he's really, he takes it really seriously. So I can kind of remind you of like someone, like that in college, and just the guy who, he's really concerned about the future. So he's kind of mature type, and he's got some insecurity too, which is kind of another good part of his character. Kind of balances out his character. And the Kit Rob combo, like, you get the feeling that they're a couple that's kind of like been together since like the beginning of freshman year all the way to the end. They're going to get married. They're not quite engaged yet, but everyone kind of knows they're going to get engaged. So everyone kind of knew a couple like that. So they're a great couple for this movie. You have Leah Densett, who plays Nan. She's the more cerebral character. She dresses conservatively. She's in the drama society. She's reading like poetry. She's reading like Paradise Lost on the ferry. She brings schoolwork with her to spring break, so that tells you a lot about her. But everyone kind of knew she dresses real conservatively too. So everyone kind of knew a girl like Nan, in college. So she's kind of cool. And then you have Thomas F. Wilson playing Arch. And of course, Thomas F. Wilson was best known as playing Biff in the Back to the Future movies. And he was so hateable in those films, but in this film, he's just so cool. He's so awesome. He seems like just such a fun guy to hang out with. And he's the guy who is least likely to be able to handle, like, giving up the college life. You can just tell he loves the college life. He doesn't really talk about what he's going to do afterwards. He's a goof. He seems like a good friend. Just kind of, he's a jockish type of guy, but cool. And so Arch is really, I like it. He's might be my favorite character in this whole film. And then you have Griffin O'Neill, he's probably the most expendable character in this. He plays Skip. At the beginning of this, he's kind of cool. He pals around with Arch. He does the knife prank on the ferry. And he seems kind of cool, but he's got this kind of weird like issue with his dad, and he kind of sulks a lot about it, and he gets drunk, and he's away from the group like the first night, and he's the first one to get killed off. So he's in it the least. That's why he's probably the most expendable character. So Griffin O'Neill, who by the way is the son of Ryan O'Neill and the brother of Tatum O'Neill. He does a fine job. He's probably the least favorite character in the film. And then Deborah Foreman, who plays Muffy, who is the girl whose family owns the big house. And she is awesome in this film. She's the one who has she's like genuinely scary towards the end. They think she's the one doing the killings, and they're suspecting her, and she's got this real scary face, and her hair's all frizzed up towards the end, and just these like these wide eyes. And Deborah Foreman is really good. All right, then you have some minor characters like Tom Heaton plays the constable, and it's not a very big role, but he's kind of the authority adult figure who's off the island, that he shows up at the end. And then you have Lloyd Barry, who plays the ferryman, who's pretty good on the ferry, and then Mike Nomad, who plays Buck, the guy who gets injured and on the prank. So there's one more character. Her name is Clara, played by Pat Barlow, who's like she's either the mother or like the grandmother of Muffy's character. You see her like at the very beginning, and she's gone. She has like one line, but that's pretty much it. So April Fool's Day. I can't do this film justice by doing a full review of it. I just wanted to talk about the characters. If you want the full breakdown, I'll post the OCP Communications review. I think he did like 2 reviews on this, but his second review was spot on, and he really breaks it down perfectly. And this is not only one of my favorite you can call it a horror films of all time. It might be like a top 10 film of all time for me. So and which is kind of weird because it's 1986, which is past Peter's sweet spot, which is like 70s and then early 80s, but it does the job. It's incredible. Like I said, it really explores all these different genres. It works as a straight comedy, I think. It works as a straight drama, I think. It works as just a mystery. It's kind of like Agatha Christie type of thing there, and then the characters, because like in the 80s, characters in horror films had zero substance, as we all know, in most cases. But like all of these characters are just so they're so different, and they're so well developed in the short time that this film has, and most of the actors aren't even like that well known. So yep, Amy Steele, gotta love her. Jenny, Jason is a legend. Jenny, a legend. Alright guys, thanks for watching April Fool's Day 1986, tonight's feature presentation, as we continue the first inning of this great season of movie watching, the spring season of movie watching, the very beginning of the year. Alright guys, later.